யா ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாங்க சார்.
Okay. A very good morning to one and all. We welcome you all for the 2 days online webinar series on research and innovation, organized by the Department of Computer Science, Ratanavel Subramanian College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. God is not present in idols. Your feelings are your God. The soul is your temple. Let us start this webinar by invoking God's presence and blessings upon this meeting. Now I request Ms. Aishwarya, student of Computer Science, to lead us into God's presence with a prayer song.
கருவாக்கி உருவாக்கி எனையாளும் காத்தருளும் இறைவா நன்றி. கருவாக்கி உருவாக்கி எனையாண்டு காத்தருளும் இறைவா நன்றி. எங்கும் நிறைந்தோனே எல்லையில்லாதானே இங்கேயும் எப்போதும் என் குலம் காப்பவரே. நெஞ்சம் நிறைந்து நேர்மை புரிய அருள் பெரும் செய்யுமே இந்த கணமே. கருவாக்கி உருவாக்கி எனையாண்டு காத்தருளும் இறைவா நன்றி.
Thank you, Aishwarya. God is with us indeed. Add some extra to turn the ordinary to extraordinary. Make progress step by step. Success will be at your doorstep. With that, decide to begin this marvelous event. Now I request Dr. D. Mageshwari, HOD, Department of Computer Science, PG, who is the backbone of our department, to welcome the gathering. Ma'am.
Very good morning to one and all. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science, I welcome the management, principal and vice principal of RVS College of Arts and Science. Welcome you, sir. It's my pleasure to welcome our today's chief guest, Dr. B. Radha ma'am, Associate Professor from Krishna College of Arts and Science. I welcome you, ma'am. I welcome our DBT Coordinator, Dr. Dhanabalan sir, Department Coordinator, Dr. B. Jayanti ma'am. Welcome you, ma'am. Welcome you, sir. I welcome our Department Director Admin, Dr. Christopher sir, and Academic Director, Dr. Yamini ma'am, and the HODs, Mrs. Grace Padma ma'am, Dr. Padmapriya ma'am, and Dr. Suganya ma'am. Welcome you all, sir and ma'am. I welcome all the directors and HODs and the faculty members from our college. Welcome you all. I am happy to welcome all the participants from outside and the research scholars. Welcome you all. Once again, I welcome you all for this webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. Every program is a special because of the extreme presence of eminent people. Now, I call upon Dr. M. Suganya, Associate Professor, to introduce the chief guest.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to one and all. I'm very glad to introduce today's speaker, Dr. B. Radha Madam, my dearest friend in this juncture. Dr. Radha Madam, working as Associate Professor in the Department of ICT in Sri Krishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, for past 3 years. Madam has completed MCA and she received her doctorate from Anna University, Chennai. She is specialized in computer networks, cloud computing, and grid computing. She is serving in this profession for more than 15 years in various engineering and arts colleges and having 12 years of research experience. She has published more than 40 papers in various international journals, which includes reputed journals like Scopus, Web of Science, etc. And presented more than 25 papers in national and international conferences and honored with Best Paper Award in various international conferences. She also serving as a reviewer in IEEE Journal and FSDM International Conference held at China University. So far, she has published 4 books, out of which 3 with Labard publication and 1 with Amazon. She has submitted proposals in NCW, ICSSR, UGC, and waiting for results. 6 research scholars are pursuing their PhD under her guidance, and few students are awaiting for their viva voce. And she has also appointed as doctoral committee member for research scholars. Madam acts as Indian examiner for PhD viva voce of scholar who completed his PhD in Periyar Maniamma University, Tanjore. She is having lifetime membership of ISTE and IACSIT. She has delivered numerous guest lectures in the area of distributed computing and acted as keynote person in the international conference held at Vivekananda College, New Delhi. I am very happy to have such an eminent person with us in this webinar as speaker. Thank you, madam. Thanks for accepting our invitation, and thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. It is a suitable introduction of our worthy chief guest. We definitely want to go out and explore different personalities and different people. Such a great personality is our chief guest. It is time to move on the main event of the day. I hand over the session to Dr. B. Radha, Associate Professor, Department of ICT, Sri Krishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, to take us through this webinar on the topic of best practice for effective research. Madam, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I should first thank Maheshwari Madam and my dearest friend, Dr. Suganya, for inviting me for this auspicious event. And I also thank Dr. Balakrishnan too. And shall I start my session now, sir?
Yeah, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Whether my presentation is viewable, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And do you want me to switch on my video?
Yes, ma'am. For a few minutes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So before going into my main topic of research now, let me discuss briefly about the interest which we show towards research. Got it? So I hope many of them who have participated for today's webinar is research scholars, I hope so. So before going into detail of my presentation is all about only 10 slides. And those 10 slides will be a valid slide, I hope so. So before going into my topic of today's session, let me discuss about your area of interest, first of all, and what is the reason behind going for doing your PhD. Few of them will have an ambition of completing our PhD, which is your lifetime goal or your career upliftment. And a few of them will be forced to do their PhD work in order to get promotions and to get survive in the current field of your career. Yes. And if it is so, you should stick on first firmly with your topic of research and the domain of your research. This is what I give my suggestion. Under my guidance, or I need whomever I used to represent the same words to them also. So before you get into your PhD, you should think firmly about your area of research and your domain specification. Take for example, my area of research is software engineering basically. And I was gathering a lot of information related to software engineering, and I used to handle a lot of papers related to software engineering, software testing, software architecture, software project management, likewise goes on during my early stage of my career. Because from the beginning, when I started my career, my focus is on doing my PhD at the earliest. So where I started my research during my 4th year of service. So when I started, I was being asked to register my PhD under an university which is in UK, and other thing is NIT. But both the guides who were asked me to for registering under their guidance asked me for software engineering as my area of research. So I was working out with software engineering for 2 years continuously. So what I thought is, during my early stage, I thought of taking handling papers to the students related to software engineering. So I was handling all the papers related to software engineering, like what I told you, like software engineering or software project management or software architecture, software testing. Likewise, my subject was also being into the same field of domain. But obviously, when I'm having a plan of registering into a particular university like NIT or an university in UK, due to some personal reasons, I couldn't make it out. So what I did is, I was searching a guide in and around Coimbatore, and I was into Anna University for registering my PhD. When I got my guide, I should thank her first, because she's the one who has given me such a platform where now I am acting as a chief guest for a webinar where I'm presenting a topic of research. Yes, her name is Dr. V. Sumati, and she is HOD of ECE Department and Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. When I approached her, she's the one who asked me to change my domain from software engineering to computer networks. This is how my journey is towards my entry into my PhD. So when I was totally shifting my domain from software engineering to computer networks, again, I need to do a lot of base work so that I could make myself strong enough in doing my research with the basic domain computer networks. So the young scholars, whoever is here, please do stick on with what domain you're going to focus on, and you need to choose the problem from the same domain. It's not like switching your domain from one domain to another based on the people's convenience or your own convenience. Got it? So this is my first advice. You can take it as an advice, or you can take it as a guidance, whatever it might be. And next thing is, when you choose your area of domain, please go through your area in such a way where you can get the problem of your interest. Clear? Problem specification should be very clearly specified during your early state of your research. This is my second guidance. So when you're choosing your problem, you need to study a lot with your basic domain. Got it? So when I'm going into my PPT, I've given my presentation outline as introduction. Second one is identifying area of specialization. Third one is study of your base paper, work plan, tools and methodology, research paper writing and publications, and how you're going to apply for funding agencies for your project work, and how you're going to validate your research work. So these are all the key points which we are going to discuss it in today's session. So first, I have given you an introduction about what sort of research I was carrying out, like in my early bit of my PhD registration. And once I'm switching over to computer networks, I have registered my PhD in the year 2008, April. So during that time, grid computing was a very peak topic where everybody was going behind or running behind the grid so that you can have a lot of problem and you can complete it on time. This is what the focus is. And many of the funding agencies were accepting the proposals based on grid computing. And myself also was running behind the grid computing. And of course, it is very interesting zone where I was into a lot of exposure, where I got a key interest with the computer networks. And obviously, till now, I am progressing towards with my area of interest as computer networks. And this is how I identified my area of specialization. Fortunately or unfortunately, I chosen my area of research to be computer networks, and I'm still progressing with computer networks, where you have a lot of wonders you can do it with computer networks. And while going for choosing your base paper, you need to identify the recent papers of your research. So take for example, if you're going to do a research on image processing, a lot of papers been published with research papers where you have many sub areas of research in image processing. Is there anyone doing your research in image processing? May I know, please? Yes. How many of them are doing your research with
Yes,
image
ma'am.
processing? Yes. So what is your main problem identification? That is what I'm asking is a sub area of research. You need not specify your problem exactly, yes, but you can tell me your sub area of research. Anyone? Yes. So you have image segmentation. You go with prediction. Yes.
Segmentation,
Yes,
prediction, ma'am.
Yes. So you have a lot of area of research with image processing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Segmentation.
So what you do is you go with the medical images and you go for
Yes, ma'am.
diagnosing the diseases. And many of the funding agencies are giving you funds based on your problem specification and how you're going to sort out your problem. And people are running behind image processing. Why? Because you can do a lot with the MATLAB, where you can have a minimum number of codings, and you can do with a lot of you can research with your simulation software itself. Likewise, when I was doing my research with grid computing, I was sticking on with simulation, where I was getting wonderful results with simulation softwares. Likewise, when you go for image processing, also people go behind NS2 or MATLAB, and they focus on doing or carrying out their research with these two simulation tools. Why I'm specifically speaking about image processing is, when you approach any funding agency, the people who are doing a research on the problems related to image processing, we can apply it to a lot of funding agencies which are wide open in and around the research areas. Like when you go for medical image processing, you can go with medical sciences funding agencies, and you can also go for forensic sectors where image processing plays a major role. Likewise, your areas will be progressing towards. So why I'm specifically speaking about this image processing and other funding agencies is, first of all, when you go into your research or choosing an area of research, like is to be in two ways you need to choose. One is the way you are going to complete your PhD, and the second one is your passion towards your research. So the way you're going to complete your PhD, the first we'll speak about that one. Why? Because since we are in a teaching profession, we are supposed to complete our PhD within a stipulated time period to continue our career in teaching. So if that is the case, we will be focusing on registering our PhD and completing it within the stipulated minimum time period of 3 years or 4 years. That will be one particular a set of people will be focusing on that. And second thing is passion towards research. So people who are very strong technically and who are very strong in identifying the problems and solving of the problems will be going for the second category, where they don't stick on with the timing of completion of their PhD within the stipulated time, but they do progress in such a way they can create marvels where a lot of funding agencies will be ready to sanction for their proposals. These are the two key ways or key aspects where we focus on choosing our research. Like one is to complete our PhD on time, and second one is to do some wonders with your research findings. Got it? So when I'm going for my first thing, that is PhD work, completing within a stipulated time period to safeguard my profession in teaching or to safeguard my career, in that scenario, you need to choose a problem in such a way where you will be completing within the stipulated time period as well. You can do some publications, like 5 to 6 publications with the work which is being carried out by yourself, where a few of them should be from Scopus indexed journal or from Web of Science or from UGC care list, so that you can complete it within the stipulated time period. From my perception, that should not be the correct way of approaching. Got it? So whenever you do your research, you need to choose a problem in such a way it should have a wider scope, where whenever you apply for a funding agency for a proposal sanction, it should get sanctioned. And one more thing is, when you go for a future enhancement with your research findings, it should be in a progress where it should go into a better a conclusion. Like, if I am completing my PhD, I have completed my PhD within a stipulated time period, where not in the stipulated time period, I completed my PhD with 5 years of my tenure. And within the 5 years only, I was learning a lot about research. The first thing, I was very much struggling to choose my problem, where I have forced to choose my area of research as computer networks as my domain, where my subdomain is my grid computing. And I was choosing grid computing platform, where I was identifying my problem in resource selection and scheduling. This is my problem specification, and I was implementing it by using hybridization algorithms, and future enhancement, I was specifying it as a separate chapter. And when I am into research proposals, I could not do it as a proposal of my research, because I didn't do it in the application domain. It is purely on technical domain, so I could not able to apply for a funding agency regarding my PhD thesis. Got it? You should not choose your problem in such a way where you cannot apply for any funding agency, since it is more technical. So when you go for DBT or DST or whatever funding agencies, they do go for implementing your problem identification, that is your problem specification or your solution, to an area where it should be used by the end user. That is the main core concept of the funding agencies. So you need to choose your problem specification from any area of research in such a way you can write it as a proposal, where the funding agencies are ready to sanction for the application oriented problem specification. Got it? And this is one more key point. And going back to your PPT, here I've given some specification about what is all about research. I told you what is research and how you're going to. I am just giving you a colloquial definition of research. I'm not going to a literal specification of what is research. If I'm speaking about literal specification of research, then it won't be useful for you guys. So I'm giving you details, what all I know about how to carry out your research and how you can complete it on time, and how you can split your chapters, and how you can write it as a proposal, and how you can go for publishing your papers. This is all about my today's presentation is about. So identifying your area of specification, I told you already, these are all some wide areas of research where we focus on. But many people will stick on with data mining, and many people will stick on with image processing, and few of them will go with soft computing and cloud computing, mobile computing, and now they go with the manets, and some biomedical image processing. Likewise, you go with a natural language processing is a key area of research nowadays. So these are all some area of specializations which I have listed, but not limited to. So you need to choose your own domain where you feel much interested in completing your research in such a way you can easily identify your problem. This is what I mean by when you go for choosing your area of specialization. It's not like your guide is forcing you to choose that particular area because they can guide you very well and you can do a lot of wonders. Not like that. It is about our own potential of choosing our own area of research in such a way you can complete it within the stipulated tenure. If my area of research is grid computing, and I should not have a thing like I should force my students to choose their area also on grid computing, but I can give them choices like my generalized domain is computer networks, where they can focus on other sectors of computer networks, not on grid computing, because everybody will not have an interest on grid computing. So people, whoever is doing your research, choose your guide in such a way they should guide you in a proper manner where their area of research and your area of research is similar. This is your identifying your area of specialization. And going for study of base paper. Actually, what I do when I'm giving some instructions, or when I select my scholars, I give them a basic instruction during my first meet with them. So I'll conduct a meeting once they enroll under me or once they approach for guiding. What I do is I'll ask their area of research and I'll be specifying about what is my area of domain. And if it matches only, I'll ask them to apply under myself. So once they enroll under my guidance for PhD, I'll be conducting a first meeting with them where I'll be giving fewer instructions. One of the particular instruction is how to choose the base paper. So don't choose your base paper in any of the non-reputed journals. And moreover, if you're registering your PhD in the year 2020 or 2021, choose your base paper, which is very recent, so that you can have a future enhancement in that paper, which is not being implemented anywhere, 80%. Okay. And you can choose your future enhancement from the base paper. And that future enhancement can be your problem identification too. So whenever you're going for choosing a base paper, please select at least minimum 25 to 50 papers of your own area of domain. Okay. So if I'm choosing resource selection and resource sharing with the other networks when I'm going for grid computing, so what I do is what I have done is I have chosen a lot of base papers. The first flaw which I have done in my own research is I've chosen a lot of base papers. And when I've been into my first doctoral committee meeting, my DC member is one DC member is from Salem Government College of Engineering, where she's the principal of that college. And when I was approaching her regarding my doctoral committee meeting report, and she was giving me a suggestion, which is a very valid suggestion, which I was following till now. I even give that same suggestion to my scholars too. What that suggestion is all about is, when you're choosing a base paper, I told you already, you can choose a 25 to 50 papers of your base paper. Spend at least minimum 2 hours of time daily before enrolling into your research. That is main important thing. And keep on studying those papers. When you look into that base paper, you can very well, you will be able to identify in which paper your interest is on. You will be having much passion towards reading one particular paper where you can thoroughly read from the first page till the future enhancement of that paper. Whichever you feel like interesting, choose those papers alone. And take a notebook or a notepad, write the conclusions of all those papers and the future enhancement along with the introduction given in that base paper. So 3 things you need to look into the base paper. The first thing is your introduction, introduction given in the paper, and second one is the conclusion, and third one is the future enhancement. Likewise, when you're choosing 25 minimum base papers, you will have 25 introductions, 25 conclusions, and 25 future enhancement. And you can, what you can do is, you can sort out from these 25 a minimum of 10. Okay. When you're choosing minimum 10 introductions, 10 conclusions, and 10 future enhancements, you will be able to pick out one from those 10 where you feel it much interesting. That future enhancement will be in one particular base paper. Okay. So you have finally chosen one particular base paper where your interest is on. Choose that paper, go to the reference section. You will be having a lot of references listed down. Okay. You need to download all the reference papers listed in that particular base paper. Obviously, your base paper should be from Elsevier or IEEE, which is my suggestion. So that you can play a safe game until you complete your research. Until your Viva OC, you will not be getting to any of the issues if you are choosing your base paper from IEEE or from Elsevier or from Springer series. Got it? So you would have chosen one particular future enhancement, one particular introduction, and one particular conclusion. That all should come from one single paper, not from variants. Variety of papers you're choosing, right? But even still, when you're progressing towards, you will be much attracted towards one particular future enhancement. Choose that, take that base paper, go to the reference section of that base paper. In that reference section, you have some 25 to 30 references listed down. You need to look, take out all those reference papers and the base paper, put together, keep it as a separate soft binding. Okay. And those references will teach you a lot about your problem identification, because each and every references will focus on one particular part of your base paper, and that particular reference paper will be focusing on one small aspect given in your base paper. That will give you a lot of idea to choose your problem specification. So when you're going for your base paper, the future enhancement will be taking you towards your problem identification. Okay. Then you can progress towards in writing the introduction when you have chosen your problem specification. You may wonder about why I'm asking about your thesis writing now on. Because when you complete all the works of your problem, and at final stage when you're going to integrate the end result, then you will be immediately moving on to write your synopsis, then to your thesis. These two things will be happening within the 3 months of your completion of your research. Okay. So that time you should not feel it difficult. So when you start your problem identification itself, start writing your thesis chapter wise. So when you choose your problem specification, you will be able to know how many number of problems you're going to sort out in this research. You're going to segregate those problem specification as problem specification under one chapter, and how you're going to solve a problem. If you're choosing 3 or 2 different methodologies or more than that, that many number of chapters should be there. And all your integrated work of your result, that is your end result, should be another chapter. That is obviously your conclusion and goes with your future enhancement. Likewise, you need to segregate your research work in such a way you can write your thesis parallelly. Got it? That is my next one. So work plan. This is my work plan where I'm going to choose my title. Title should not be chosen at the beginning of your research. That can be varying until you complete your entire research, and while you're going to submit your synopsis, you can choose your title. But till then, you need not specify your title at anywhere else. Got it? It should be like a thing where the people, whoever is looking into your research, will not be able to understand clearly what is your problem and what is your solution exactly is. If you're specifying your problem and your solution to the point where the people will be able to easily identify what is your problem and what is your solution, then they may go on progressing with their research with the problem specification of yours. So don't go with that mistake until and otherwise you complete your thesis writing. And when you are being into the synopsis DC meeting, you can very well explain about what is your problem to the DC member as well to your other members present during your synopsis meeting. Until and otherwise, you should not specify clearly about your problem specification as well as how you're going to solve your problem. That is a formula of working out with your conclusion. Got it clear? So this is about your work plan. So first thing is your project title. That is that here at this stage, I may specify as your problem specification or the area of research. And second is you're dividing your research work into different chapters. So here I have given an example as 5 chapters. First one is study of research work. That is an introduction chapter. And second one is different methodologies being adapted in order to solve that particular issue by other researchers. That is your second chapter. Probably you may call it as literature survey. And third is your work phase 1. Fourth one is your work phase 2. And fifth chapter also can be your work phase when you're having 3 different works. And sixth one will be your implementation of your final phase, which I told you as integrating all your phases. And the last one is your conclusion and your future enhancement. So when the people are feeling it difficult to write your thesis, you can go for segregating your chapters in such a way each and every work will be 1 chapter. So if you're having 7 chapters, you should have 7 different publications so that all those publications will be the content for 7 different chapters. Got it clear? So if I'm speaking about an introduction, I can publish a paper which is a survey paper so that I can take that survey paper content very well for my introduction chapter. And literature survey also the same. And third comes my working phase. fourth also working phase, fifth also working phase, and sixth and seventh will be my result integration and future enhancement and conclusion. So if at all I'm having 4 to 5 works to be done during my tenure of research, what I'm supposed to do was, I am supposed to publish only 3 publications, and 1 publication I should keep it as a hold, where after completing my synopsis submission, I can very well approach the publisher for publishing my final work of my research, so that during your Viva OC, your last final state of your research will be getting published in your reputed journal like Scopus or Web of Science or whatever it might be, to whoever you approach. Got it clear? This is what your work plan should be. So simply by saying in one particular slide, the work is not easy. You need to work out for hours together in such a way. You need to identify or choose your problem. Next is you need to divide your work plan in such a way you can very well keep that plan for your thesis writing also, and as well for your publication of your papers. Yes. And next one is going for methodology and tools. So methodology and tools is what type of software you're going to choose in order to implement your work, as well what type of language you're going to choose. So when you go for data mining, there are a lot of tools available like R tool. Now they go with Vega tool, and likewise they have a lot of tools. When you go for image processing, you have, as I told you, NS2 or your MATLAB. And for grid or cloud computing, you have their own simulators available like GridSim or SimGrid. Yes, you have lot of tools available. You need to choose a tool in such a way you are well versed with the tool. You need to know the nook and corner of the tool, so that when you're going to work out with that particular tool, you are supposed to take the results in such a way the result is fruitful. And when you're going to give the input for feeding your tool for getting your output, the input should be of a maximum count. It should not be of a minimum count, like 100 database. 100 data sets I have fed out. I have feed into this tool for getting out the result. That will not be a fabulous result. The count of the input which you are feeding into your system should be enormous, so that you can have a light variance with your result also. So when you go for concluding your research by integrating all your research findings in your particular specification, problem specification, you will have a good variance where your progression at the final phase of your result will be very much appreciable. Yes, in such a way, you need to use your tools and methodology along with the input which you are feeding into your tool. And next is your research paper writing. So when you go for research paper writing, I already told you, like whenever you choose your research, you need to go with the introduction, review of literature, and what are all the methodologies you have adapted, and what type of findings you have carried out with those methodologies, and what is your conclusion, and what type of limitations you are specifying for your research, and how you are going to integrate all your research. This is your research paper writing. So first thing, when I'm going to write my introduction chapter as a research work, that is my first paper, I am just going to specify all the references in my introduction chapter, where I'm not going to specifically mention about what my problem exactly is. And second one is review of literature, again going to be my survey paper, where I'll be speaking about this particular person have given this particular idea, and this particular person have given this particular problem specification, how they are looking into that their own problem, and how they have taken their problem and how they are bringing out their result. This is what my second survey paper should be. And third one is, I am going to take this particular problem where I'm not going to specify particularly about what the problem exactly is. Yes, but I'm going to specify the problem, and I'm going to write a paper in such a way, my first work where I would have implemented and I would have got some results, that result finding should be represented in a graphical representation. Whenever you go for submitting any paper to a journal, the content of the paper should be a valid content, where it should get immediately accepted by the reputed journal to whomever you are approaching. Got it clear? So you're supposed to choose a problem in such a way You're supposed to choose a problem in such a way you're going to do your initial part of research, that is your first phase, where you'll be implementing or you'll be solving the problem with the tool which you have chosen. So you'll be having some findings with that particular problem. Take the findings and represent it in a graphical representation along with the table of content where you're going to give some statistical input. That should be your content of the paper. And one more important point is, whatever publications you're carrying out throughout the tenure of your research, please do include your own paper as a reference paper in the next coming journals. Got it? So if I'm publishing 7 papers, all those 7 papers somehow or the other will be in the reference section of my own 7 publications or 8 publications. So you can have your own citation index with an increased value of your citation index because you yourself referring it in your research findings in the papers. Yes, that is for your self-development. Likewise, you can take it as a quote. Yes, and this is how you're going to write your research paper. And publication of research paper, don't stick on with any of the local journals. Please go with the reputed journals where your journal should be indexed by Scopus or Springer or Elsevier or Web of Science, and the minimum specification is your UGC careless. So whenever I specifically talk about the publications to my own scholars, I always used to stick on with the Scopus, Springer and Elsevier, and the final work to be published in Web of Science. I don't stick on with this UGC careless because you will be into a phase where the UGC careless will be available once in one time. When you got published your paper, the journal will be immediately removed from the care list. Then your publication is not valid. Okay, to get yourself into a good situation where all your journals are listed in a good particular reputed journal, then it will be speaking a lot when you go for your profile. So better go with a Springer or Elsevier or a Scopus or Web of Science. And at most, I'll be giving a suggestion to all my scholars to publish one particular book which is of their own domain specification. That will help you a lot in writing your thesis. Got it? That publication should also from a reputed publisher, not from any of the local publisher. Keep that in mind first. So all your papers should get published with Scopus or Springer or Elsevier or Web of Science. For Scopus publication, you can very well go with any international conferences where they are publishing your conference papers in Scopus Index Journal or Springer series. So that you will be having a dual benefit where you are attending a conference, you are participating in the conference, your paper got selected in the conference and your paper getting published in the reputed journal. So that the amount which you are spending will be a minimum amount where you are getting 2 different benefits. One is your conference certificate and the other one is your publications. Got it? And one more point is publishing at least one paper, one research book where during your tenure of your research. Yes, this is about your research paper publication. And next important thing is your funding agencies and project fundings. So this will be always insisted by all the PhD guides for applying your proposals for funding agency. Why we still focus on or why we insist always on funding agencies and project proposals, it is up to your own benefit because monetary benefit you people will be enjoying where you can spend that amount for your research work. If it is really worth, all the funding agencies whichever I am listing will be giving you a good fund where you can carry out an entire PhD work within that fund sanctioned by the funding agencies. And for many funding agencies are giving a separate fund for females. So female research scholars will be having an extra benefit compared to the male research scholars because there are many central government funding agencies which mainly focus on motivating the young female researchers. So please focus on choosing your problem in such a way whenever you're applying for a funding agency, your problem is easily accepted and the solution specification is also accepted in such a way you'll be getting a good fund where it adds an extra feather to your cap. So during your tenure of research, if you at all you're completing your research within 4 years, within that 4 years, you will have a good number of research publications in good reputed referred journals. As well, you would have published a good publication, book publication, and you would have applied for a funding agency where you would have got a fund. That is also will be an added weightage for your resume. So all these three aspects you need to focus on while you carry out your research. So this is what my advice or my rules which I am framing out whenever I go for choosing my scholar. Yes. And whenever I go for any doctoral committee meeting, I used to insist for the scholars of other guides stating that you need to apply for a funding agency. So don't think like it's very difficult for you to approach a funding agency. You can write small proposals like we can apply for NSW, that is National Commission for Women, that is for women people. And you can very well apply for DST. You have a funding agency which is UGC where you have minor proposals and major proposals, and CSIR. You can start your initiation with applying for a seminar grant or a conference grant or for any workshop related to your work. And then you can start applying for a research proposals. Yes. So this is about my presentation. Very well, you can say it is a presentation or ideas where I am into my own experience. I have brought all those things as a point and I've given it in a PPT. And many of them will not be very clearly specifying about how you need to carry out research, because I was facing the same difficulty when I was into my PhD. To whomever I go and ask how to start my research, nobody will utter even a single word about how you can start finding out your problem specification. Nobody. You can write it in anywhere and you can ask anybody else. Nobody will be clear-cut specifying about how you can start your research, how you can choose your problem, how you can progress towards your research. Nobody will utter even a single word. This is how our environment, our society is, where each and everyone who were into the PhD will be fed up with doing their research, and final stage, somebody will be, very few will be progressing towards the end of their research, and many of them will stop in between by discontinuing their PhD. This is what the scenario is when we are doing our research. The PhD is a separate pressure on you where you cannot concentrate on any of the aspects, even in your personal enjoyment, you cannot do, because it is a pressure which will be keeping on insisting you need to complete, you need to complete, you need to complete. This is what, since we were into Anna University PhD work, we have a lot of struggle in completing our research, and we don't have a proper guidance where the people will be insisting like what all points are given to you. Nobody have given those points, valid points, while I was carrying out my research, or even Suganya ma'am was carrying out her research. We were struggling by our own, where we swim into the ocean, where we are finding out our own problem specification, we are finding out our own solution, how to approach the funding agency, or how to publish our papers, how to write the research paper, how to write the thesis. Everything we ourselves found out for our own benefit. And now it is my own platform where I am delivering it as a lecture, where I can help at least minimum few of the students, whoever is here, so that they will feel very complete when they are out of this webinar. This is, I hope you would have got a clear idea about what is about research, how you can carry out your research, how to identify your problem, how you can write your papers, how you can write your book, how you can publish your papers. Yes, I hope I have given a valid point and I have given justice to today's webinar, I hope. Yes. That's all about my presentation. Is if you have any queries, you can ask me. I'm there to help you. If anybody is having any queries, you can ask me.
Yeah, madam, very good morning. Very good morning. Yeah. Madam, I want to clarify. I want to clarify about the minor and major project. Nowadays, they are providing minor project, madam.
So UGC is providing minor proposals for MPhil. And even PhD scholars applying for minor proposals. Even my scholar have applied for minor proposal. And the persons who are with the PhD will apply for major proposal.
Okay.
The only agency which provides a minor and major proposal is UGC. I hope so.
Okay, madam. Madam, and
Even
one
last
more.
year,
Yeah. According to your experience, I want to clarify one doubt, ma'am.
Yes,
The
sir.
past 2-3 months, I was attended a lot of PhD Viva Voice.
Okay,
One of the
sir.
Viva Voice, the one scholar was explaining about the first phase. So that
Okay, sir.
phase is not dependent to second one. Second one is not
Okay.
dependent to third one. Everything separate.
Okay.
That
Okay.
PhD was accepted and also granted. It is nowadays it's a possible, madam. This is accepting this kind of project PhD work.
Sir, yeah, sir. I'm coming into your point. See, actually, up to my perception, if I am into that Viva OC, I'll never grant them with the PhD. Because each and every one of your work should be related with each other. Because each and every problem, that means you need to go with multiple problems and multiple problems with different solutions for each and every chapter. That should not be a good way of research. Actually, what my specification to my own scholars is, you need to choose a problem where you're going to segregate your problem into different phases, and at one final state, all your phases should be interrelated or integrated, so that your final phase of your research should give you an end result. This is what your research should be. It is not like giving a separate, choosing a separate problem for each and every individual chapter, and it is like hanging themselves in separate sectors. That should not be the case. That is not a fruitful research.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So whenever you are guiding, if you want to give any suggestions to your scholars, please kindly stick on with this. Choose a problem in such a way your problem can be divided into subphases, and all the subphases, when you complete it, you need to integrate it. This is what we always teach the students in software engineering also.
Yes, ma'am.
The final phase of your work should be integration, sir.
Okay, ma'am. And one more.
There are people, yes, sir. One minute. There are people who progress their research in such a way, what you told me as, like when they have the funding agency sanction their fund for this particular type of research, then they will be progressing towards with the main key point as their data. I mean, their research is being funded by a funding agency. When they are having that particular strong point, nobody can overrule them, sir. That is also one key aspect. If the particular scholar who has presented his or her Viva and has got some funding sanction by the funding agency, then they can progress very well. Because I do have the same experience with one of the scholar where I have been into a doctoral member for that particular scholar.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Yes, sir. And any other queries?
Any participants?
See, I'm not going to crush you like when you are asking me a question. So this is a platform where you can clarify all your doubts. I'm here to clarify, first of all, what all things I know I can share as a answer to your questions. It's not like I know everything and I can give you what all things you need. Yes? Anybody else having any doubts? And those have given messages in chat window. Thank you for your valuable feedback.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Given here in the chat window.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, good morning, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Myself, Rajesh Kumar from the
Good morning,
department, ma'am. I have a clarity
Okay,
about the funding project like this, ma'am. You are mentioned what are all the sites and what is the procedure. I know I got it very well. At the same time, I have a doubt. There is any expecting projects? They have mentioned any expecting projects, ma'am. So because we are in a computer science domain, so we are doing a PhD in a computer science based on that domain, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So in that funding agency, they are expecting any type of projects or like a thesis, or they need any type of expectations, ma'am. There is any options there?
Yeah. See here, when you go for DBT or DST, they do have some specifications. They do have some boundaries of problem. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So when you're going into when you're going to approach any funding agency, we cannot approach all of a sudden. They should make a call for research funding. Okay. When they're making a call, they'll be specifying their domain area of problem specification there itself.
Okay.
If your problem of your research is fixing, is exactly matching with the domain specification of the funding agency, you can very well approach them.
Okay. Okay.
It's not like specifying the exact problem is. Very
Okay,
rare
ma'am.
cases they'll be specifying the exact problem.
Sure. Sure. Okay,
But
ma'am. Okay. Thank you,
in many
ma'am.
cases, what they do is they go
Yes, ma'am.
stick on with broad domain. That's all.
Okay.
They'll not go with problem specification.
Okay, ma'am.
They'll be specifying as cloud computing or image processing. Likewise, they'll be specifying and some outline about the problem specification.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I hope you understand.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any queries?
Ma'am, good morning.
And yes, sir.
Ma'am,
Yes,
is it
sir.
advisable for the scholars to go for multiple base papers? If it is,
Sir, multiple base papers. Yes.
if it is 3 phases of work, so maybe a continuation of work from 1 to
Okay.
2, 2 to 3 like that, or maybe some
Okay.
different base papers can be taken for individual phases.
Okay.
So is it advisable?
And
ma'am?
how your conclusion will be, sir?
Ma'am,
Yeah, how your
like,
conclusion will be when you're going for different base papers for different
so
chapters?
maybe a part of work will be handled in the phase 1, 2, 3, something like that. Then altogether will be providing some common
Okay.
metric like so quality or something prediction like that. I'm asking.
Somehow or the other, you're
Yes,
going
yes,
to integrate,
ma'am.
right?
Final phase.
Yeah. Yeah, the final phase when you're integrating and giving out a consolidated result of all the remaining phases,
Yes,
then
yes,
it is
yes,
good.
ma'am.
But integration
Sure,
should be
ma'am.
there. You should not hang individually, separately in separate
Yes,
phases.
ma'am.
During your thesis correction, thesis evaluation, not correction, thesis evaluation, you may get caught
Okay, okay, ma'am.
if you're not integrating. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. And one more, yes, Chitra Devi. Any tool for implementing computer networks like NS2. NS2 is outdated. I hope so. You have some latest tools available with the other versions of NS simulator, network simulator. And my research, I was using MATLAB along with GridSim. Few of my work I have done with MATLAB, and for integration I have done with the GridSim. So likewise, you can collaborate with the 2 different simulators also. Any other queries?
Anybody else?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, Mani Vasagam.
Ma'am,
Yes.
hello. Oh, can you hear
Yeah, I can
me?
hear you, Mani Vasagam.
Ma'am,
Yeah, tell me.
how can we ensure that the problem
Okay.
or concept?
I'm not able to hear you. Please repeat once again.
Ma'am, how can we ensure that the problem or concept not, ma'am? How can we ensure that the problem or the concept not existed?
Not existed means it's not existing.
Not existed. Yes, yes.
See, that is
Yes,
what
yes,
I
yes.
asked you to look into.
How can we
That
ensure
is
that
what
the
I told
problem
you
not
to
existed?
look to search a base paper in such a way. It is very recent. Got it clear? This is the first point when I start my presentation. If I'm going to register my PhD in the year 2021, I need to take the base papers in such a way it should be not beyond 2019. Okay, I should choose a base paper. The base paper should be from 2019 or 20. In that case, you can have a confidence that the problem is not been sought out earlier. Okay, and whenever you go with your keyword search in your Google search with the problem identification, you will be able to bring out a lot of papers where it is with the similar area of research. In that way, you can easily find it out. Yes. So when you're very clear and when you're hardworking with your base area, then it is very easy for you to progress towards. Yes, Mani Vasugan, are you clear? Yes.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Correct.
Yeah, that is not the safe zone where we go with choosing our base paper. It's not like choosing your base paper in 2010 and doing your research in 2020. It should not exceed 2019 at the earliest. Any other clarifications to be done? Yes. Ma'am?
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation and sharing your vast knowledge. I pledge that after our presentation, our participants would have learned a lot of effective research, funding, project, and agency details, and also publication. Once again, thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
If your action is inspires others to dream more, learn more, and become more, you are an organizer. Such a great organizer is Dr. B. Jayanti, DPT Coordinator, Department of Computer Science. My privilege to welcome you, ma'am. Please to felicitate the gathering.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to one and all. Before the official vote of thanks, I personally like to express my sincere thanks to few special persons. First, I like to thank Dr. Radha ma'am for accepting our invite. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Mageshwari, HOD PG, and her team for their extraordinary work in successfully completing this session. Thanks a lot, madam. Thank you, ma'am. Mageshwari, ma'am. Thank you. I extend my special thanks to Balakrishnan sir, Dr. Suganya madam, Shanmu Rajati ma'am, and Yuvraj for their outstanding support for the entire process, for the entire session. Thanks a lot, sirs and madams. Thank you. Once again, I thank for all the coordinators for this session. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Everything good things must come to an end. Gratitude is the inward feeling of kindness received. Thankfulness is the natural impulse to express that feelings. Thanksgiving are the following of that impulse. Now we are invite an active and passionate person, D. Shanmu Rajati, Professor, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to one and all. My sincere thanks to our Managing Trustee, Dr. Sendil Ganesh sir, Correspondent Vidya Lakshmi madam, our beloved Secretary sir, and Principal sir and Vice Principal sir for their support. I express my sincere thanks to our college DPT coordinator, Dr. Dhanabalan sir, our department coordinator, Dr. B. Jayanti ma'am, for their encouragement. It is my pleasure to thank our chief guest, Dr. B. Radha ma'am, Associate Professor from Sri Krishna College of Arts and Science. After your speech, ma'am, we understood what is research, how to fix the methodology, how to write the research paper, and validation of research. Thank you, ma'am, for your clear view. I would like to thank our directors, Dr. Christopher sir and Dr. Yamini ma'am, and HODs, Grace Batma ma'am, Suganya ma'am, and Batmapriya ma'am. I extend my thank to Vinny sir for his support. My heartfelt thank to Dr. Maheshwari ma'am, HOD, and her team for their extraordinary support and cooperation in successfully completing this session. Thanks a lot, ma'am. My special thanks to all our faculty members and the participants from outside. Last but not least, I thank all the research scholars for participating in this webinar. Once again, thank you one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We all need who will give us a feedback. That is how we improve. This is a famous quote by Bill Gates. With these quotes, we welcome your valuable feedback. So please, participants, kindly fill the today's feedback form. Take it from the chat box. Thank you everyone for joining our online webinar on the topic of best practice for effective research and making it a grand success of day one. Thank you. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving me an opportunity also. And shall I leave now, sir?
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Suganya,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.